Hey everyone, it's Kate Baxter, and you're listening to Unfiltered and Unbound, a Perth based podcast for women who are rewriting the rules in midlife. Today, we're talking about a feeling many of us have carried quietly, sometimes for years, even while we're out there leading teams, landing promotions, or launching big, bold projects. You know that moment when you're sitting in a meeting or stepping into a new role and a tiny, persistent voice whispers, they're going to figure out you have no idea what you're doing. That voice, that's imposter syndrome. Before we dive into the strategies, I want to take you back to the 1970s. Psychologists Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes first identified this phenomenon in high achieving women. Now, despite impressive accomplishments, these women believed they weren't actually capable, just lucky or really good at fooling people. Sound familiar? Here's the truth. You are not a fraud. You're experiencing a completely normal side effect of being ambitious, capable, and human. And I'm not going to tell you to fake it till you make it, because you don't need to. You're already in the room. You've already earned your seat. There is nothing to fake. So today, I'm going to be sharing 3 practical, realistic strategies that you can start using right now to kick imposter syndrome to the curb. Let's get into it. Strategy number 1, separate feeling from fact. Now, one of the world's leading experts on imposter syndrome, Dr. Valerie Young, says the biggest difference between people who struggle with imposter feelings and those who don't isn't competence. It's how they interpret mistakes, feedback, and moments of uncertainty. And she's right. So when imposter syndrome hits, it feels absolute. It feels like evidence. But here's the truth. Feelings are not facts. Imposter thoughts are emotional reactions, not accurate assessments of your capability. When that "I'm a fraud" voice pipes up, pause and demand receipts. If your brain says, "I only nailed that presentation because I got lucky," challenge it with data. List the actual evidence. You prepared, you researched, you built the deck, you answered the questions clearly. Luck didn't do that, you did. Write it down if you need to. The goal is to shift the conversation from emotion to evidence, from "I feel like a fraud" to "here's my track record." This is how you retrain your brain to recognize your competence in real time. But sometimes, in the middle of a wobble, your brain refuses to access that evidence, even when it's right there. And that's why the next strategy is all about making your wins impossible to ignore. Strategy number 2, build a hype folder. So one of the biggest traps of imposter syndrome is that we expect our brains to hold on to evidence of our competence, even though the brain is the first thing to abandon us when self-doubt hits. So in moments of anxiety, your mind will always default to the negative. That's not a character flaw, it's biology. And this is why researchers writing in the Harvard Business Review recommend something surprisingly simple but incredibly effective. Keep a tangible record of your wins. Because when your nervous system is in fight or flight, you cannot think your way out of imposter syndrome. You need proof. Create what I call a hype folder. This is a place where you store the receipts of your brilliance. It can be a digital folder on your desktop, a notes app, or a physical notebook. Name it. Whatever feels fun. The hype folder, receipts, evidence I'm actually amazing. Every time a client sends a thank you email, a colleague praises your insight, or you hit a KPI, screenshot it and drop it in. Add performance reviews, kind messages, project wins, anything that reflects your impact. Then, when that wave of self-doubt rolls in, don't argue with yourself, just open the folder. Let past you remind present you exactly who you are, with evidence your brain can't dismiss. Now, even with receipts in hand, imposter syndrome can still creep in when we hold ourselves to impossible standards. And that brings us to our final strategy, one that shifts the entire way you measure your worth. So, strategy number 3, shift from perfect to value driven. One of the most common roots of imposter syndrome, especially for women, is perfectionism. Now, we're conditioned to believe that if we don't know everything, we know nothing. That if we're not flawless, we're failing. Clinical psychologist Dr. Jessamy Hibberd, author of The Imposter Cure, explains that perfectionism creates an impossible standard. When perfect is the goal, anything less feels like evidence that you don't belong. And that's the trap. Perfectionism doesn't make you better, it just makes you terrified of being human. So move your focus from perfection to value. So instead of asking, am I qualified enough to be here? Try asking, what value can I add in this moment? And value looks different for everyone. Maybe it's asking a thoughtful question. Maybe it's offering a perspective others haven't considered. Maybe it's simply showing up prepared and engaged. When you shift your attention from internal performance to external contribution, something powerful happens. The spotlight moves off your anxiety and onto your impact. You don't have to be perfect to be useful. You just have to participate. So, those are your 3 tools: evidence, receipts, and a mindset shift, all working together to quiet that imposter voice and bring you back to your power. If today's episode resonated, if a moment made you sit up or thought, oh, she's talking to me, please share it with one woman in your life who needs to hear it. Forward the link, drop it in a group chat, or post it to your stories. Conversations like this grow through women, passing them on to other women, and your share genuinely makes a difference. If you've got a second, hit follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. And if your app lets you leave a rating or a quick review, it helps the show get found by the women who need it most, and it costs nothing. A quick housekeeping note: so Unfiltered and Unbound is completely independent. There are no sponsors, no ads, no one paying me to say anything. I make this show because these conversations matter and because women in midlife deserve spaces that speak to their real experiences. So if you'd like to support the show and help keep it ad-free, there's a Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. One coffee from you genuinely helps. And yes, I mean actual coffee that keeps me at my desk creating episodes like this.